a Christian. I mean, I'm a believer in a religion that rejects force, actually, rejects hurting other people, that calls for you to pray for your enemies. It's a little weird that they hate Christians so much, don't you think, by the way? Parenthetically, it's a little strange. If I was running a country and I don't care what religion I was, I'd want to import a lot of Christians. Just because, by definition, like sincere Christians. Because literally their religion says you're not allowed to go hurt people. Instead, you have to kind of like work hard, stay married to the same person, take care of your children. I'm like, even if I thought the religion was absurd, even if it was not my religion at all, I'd be like, let's import a bunch of those. Because they're clearly the least threatening, the most productive citizens you could possibly have. In fact, this country was built originally by Christians. All those 5 countries were. That's why they're great countries. That's why they have human rights. Because respecting the rights of other people is a Christian precept. It doesn't exist in non-Christian countries. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Christians are unique in that they believe that each person was created by God and therefore his rights, the right to say what you really think, the freedom of speech, the right to practice any religion you want, the right not to be a slave, those are endowed by God, not government. Elbow didn't give you those. You were born with them. Yeah, no, I'm serious. So like, why would they hate people like that? Those seem like, again, even if you don't agree with the religion, or any religion, wouldn't you want that? And of course, they're the ones they hate most. That tells you a lot about their agenda, I would say. And I think the thing that they hate most about Christians, leaving aside the spiritual explanations, which I personally think are real, but maybe you don't, but just as a political matter, what they don't like about Christians is Christians recognize that those rights are inherent, they're bestowed by God, not people, and they can't be taken away. That's why Christians led the abolitionist movement. We don't have slavery because of Christians. And in non-Christian countries, there still is slavery. It's really simple. I'm sensing they don't teach this in Australian schools. Right, okay. The only reason we recognize that any of these human rights that we're supposedly defending are rights at all is because of Christianity. It's the only reason. That's the only reason. Who do you think defined those as human rights? Christians. Because they were Christians. So if you hate Christians, you're making me a little nervous. What exactly are we doing that's scaring you so much? Well, we're acknowledging a God above you. That's the real sin. Sorry, Jacinda Ardern. You're not God. You're just some silly lady with bad teeth. Like, stop. No, I don't mean you harm, but I'm certainly not going to worship you. But they've set up this bizarre religion in your country. It's really noticeable. I'm sure you don't even notice it. Like all these flags are flying all over the place. The transgender flag. I said to my driver yesterday, like, what is that? He's like, a transgender. I can't even do his accent. I was like, who puts that up? The city? So that's your religion? Really? Yeah, it is. Well, you can't worship false religions. First of all, the state shouldn't be imposing a religion on you. That is a religion. Not so different from Rome. Worship our gods or we'll punish you. And the early Christians said, okay, I'll be punished then, because I'm not worshiping your gods. Happy to live next to you. I'm a tolerant person by my nature. Christians are tolerant by nature. They're not allowed to convert by force. They're not allowed to force you to believe anything, because God created you. We didn't. But the one thing I can't do, I'm not allowed to do, is worship false gods, including your transgender cult or whatever. You're transgender, you live next door? No problem. I mean, I worked in TV all my life. That's hardly the weirdest personal life I've ever seen, trust me. Totally happy to live next to people who are into freaky stuff. I don't want to hear about it, but I don't want to arrest them. But what I'm not going to do is worship them as gods, period, because I can't. So here's my quick advice to you, and I will stop, and we'll take your hostile questions maybe in a minute. But violence is never the answer, just isn't. It doesn't make things better. I've seen a lot of conflict in a lot of different countries. No one's really improved by it ever, and often usually things get much worse. The US had about the only violent revolution I've ever heard of that made things better. The only thing that works is telling the truth in bravery. And that actually does work. Total non-compliance. We used to call it, when I was a kid, in my country, we celebrated something called civil disobedience. And that was considered a virtue. Now it's considered a crime and they shoot you with rubber bullets. But back when I was a child, when the people who are now firing the guns with rubber bullets wanted to be in charge, they'd be like, no, 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 that's the highest level of public service, is refusing to go along with unjust laws.